tape around his body. The fuck.
Holy shit!
Alright, hello, and welcome back to Behind the Lines with Gabe and Kev. This is your Week 3 review. How you doing, Kev?
I'm good. I'm excited for another episode. It's been a long time, so
It has been a long time.
it took us a few weeks to kick it off together, but here we are, back where we left it, and ready to talk some football as always.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, scheduling difficulties Week 1, technical difficulties Week 2, but Week 3, we got it. No better time like the present than to jump in. Let's go ahead. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the scoreboard here for Week 3. Whoa, what the fuck?
It's last year.
Oh. What the hell?
the 180 to 80.
What the hell? I was like, oh, sorry, Charlie. Didn't mean to show that one. As you drink your beer. Here we go in Week 3. As always, my matchup first. The Slim Reaper's Retribution takes on Swifties for Smirnoff. I get the dub, 120.9 to 99.2. I move up to 2-1, and Sam falls to 1-2. You know, after a beer chug last week, it sucks for Sam to take a loss like this, but he avoided a second in a row beer chug, which never feels good. Looking at the actual players, though, we'll look at the bright side first. Justin Herbert kind of had a middling game until the fourth quarter, came alive and scored 15. A-Chane is just my RB1, even in a bad, awful game to the Bills, puts up 16. The receiving usage is great. ETN kind of coming alive. Tough game there, got in the end zone and put up 12, which was necessary. Oh, Jesus. Puka Nacua, I mean, he just puts up 20-plus points a week. He has not put up less than 22 points in a game this season. He is the wide receiver 1. He was my wide receiver 1 the entire season. I thought he was getting underdrafted hella. I thought he should have been a top 4 pick. Fell to me at 8, and I'm loving it. Tyreek Hill in the recent trade, literally at the buzzer, Tal and I pushed the trade through with minutes to go, like 2 minutes before the game. I get Tyreek, I slot him in, he puts up 16. Good consolidation trade for me, and good trade for Tal. We'll talk about that later when we get to his roster. Kelsey, kind of a middling game with 6.6. Devontae Smith got in the end zone, I think, twice, and maybe just once, but he put up a great game, 20 points on the dot. Smitty, my guy, you know, the team namesake. I've had him all 4 years. And then Mike Evans. Mike Evans puts up 13.3, gets in the end zone for the first time this year. Looks like the touchdown regression is going to start coming my way. And then non-contact goes down with a hamstring. It's the classic Mike Evans hamstring. It happens once a year, every year. Early reports say he's probably going to miss 3 games, potentially 4. But it's a mild hamstring sprain from what I've seen. He went through a MRI today, and it is less severe, confirmed less severe than the one he had last year that kept him out for 4 games. So good news for me. Guys on the bench kind of shit the bed. Trey Benson, I think, is going to come alive next week. We'll see. Looking at Sam's team, though, got to talk about Michael Penis. I mean, Mr. Penis put up negative .2 points. He lost your team points by having him starting. You could have had an empty slot if that was possible and scored more points, which is insane. I mean, the Falcons lose 30-0 to the Panthers. Their season is over. Hopefully Sam's is not. Omarion Hampton looks really good, especially with the Najee Harris injury. He's going to be a stud. Breece Hall really hasn't gotten it going this year and has fallen off, especially where he was getting drafted. Nico Collins finally got it going in a good way, caught that 50-yard touchdown pass, and then I think fumbled. Drake London only puts up 10 in a blowout to the Panthers, and same Kyle Pitts puts up 8. You would really hope that those guys put up more, especially when you're in such a blowout game and your team's going to be throwing it nonstop to try and get back in it. But it didn't perform this week. Bill underperforms against the Raiders. I mean, the whole team did for the most part. And then Emeka Egbuka puts up 15. The Mike Evans to Egbuka showcase for the first time this year goes in Sam's direction, and Egbuka injures Mike Evans in the process. So,
Yeah, Sam's gonna have some difficulty with all the Falcons that he's got on the roster. So, kind of interesting how that's gonna go. But I know Ibuka's gonna take kind of a step up for the few weeks that Evans is gone. That'll hurt you a little bit. It's all short term, but he also gets Jordan Addison back this coming week. So maybe things are starting to look up for Sam a little bit. Maybe he can get off to the Falcons a little bit.
it's true.
I'd recommend probably a good idea to get away from the pass game there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's pretty painful to watch right now. So
Sam needs a quarterback.
I mean, for all of our sakes, yeah, he definitely does need a
Michael
quarterback.
Penis
So I think
is
that's probably
quarterback 28 in a
it's just absolutely detrimental.
in a single quarterback league.
I mean, it almost might be better to stash with Kirk Cousins at this point. But yeah, your team had a solid week. 120 is very respectable. We'll just fast forward to the next one here. Redemption Arc versus Baby Want Milky. Eli off to a very hot start this year. 3-0, first in the standings. It's kind of an easy layup matchup this week. No offense to Charlie, but he is the beer chug recipient this week.
2 in 3
he's got
weeks.
the newly. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Rough start for it's the Super Bowl hangover, man. I'm telling you, it's real. But Eli's fully on the Daniel Jones train. He had kind of a middling week this week, but it seems that the Colts offense is firing on all cylinders. Chase Brown, maybe kind of not going to be what we wanted him to be this season with Joe Burrow going down. That whole Bengals offense is kind of going to take a hit. So I don't think Jamar Chase is the curse of the 1 overall pick, man. There's always something that goes wrong. James Cook, though, is RB1 on the season, I believe, and continues to be great. Justin Jefferson has some issues with quarterback play. But Devontae Adams has been a solid pickup. Tucker Kraft, I also think tight ends this year are really just bad. There isn't really any tight end that seems to be jumping off the page. Like, I know for a fact Jawan Johnson was my tight end as the tight end 2 on the season, which is probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's just how pathetic tight end is this year. So, like, I feel like when you get, 10 points from a tight end, it's kind of just like,
Whatever.
that's like solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing for Eli is going to be Keenan Allen. I think that's been kind of, the
I think he's
highlights.
wide receiver
It's
5.
one of those.
Wide receiver 6.
Yeah, it's one of those super late round picks that ends up being like an absolute star for your roster. I mean, he put him in as a flex too. I'm not saying that's like. I don't really look at rosters like that, but like that is kind of where he slotted him, so it kind of leads me to believe that it was like a later pick. But when you get a guy like that that's so late, it can really go a long way for your team. So Keenan Allen may be an absolute bright spot if he can stay healthy. He is, of course, quite old. But for Charlie, he's got Kyler who gives him 16, but I think that there's a Kyler experience that he's kind of finding out. Charlie's usually the one who takes Josh Allen. So when you go from Josh Allen, who's great pretty much every single week, and then all of a sudden you're with Kyler, me speaking from experience, the Kyler train is a painful train to be on. So best of luck. When you get 16 from Kyler, it's honestly like not that bad. That team is terrible. They have no receivers. I don't think Marvin Harrison is really all that good. Their best player is Trey McBride offensively. So, and then now James Conner's down.
Yeah.
So their run game probably takes a hit unless Trey Benson can fill that gap.
Trey Benson, the GOAT.
So yeah. We'll see how he plays. He hasn't really. I haven't been able to really watch him play much, so I can't really speak on it. But he can't be better than James Conner. I can say that much. But Ashton Genty's been kind of disappointing this year. Brock Bowers has been kind of disappointing this year. There's been a breakout there in Vegas with Trey Tucker. Jacoby Myers is having a pretty nice season. Gino just likes to throw the ball around. and their O-line is pretty bad for Genty, so it's been kind of a tough spot. But, Terry has been kind of okay this year. I think Jalen Warren's actually been kind of a bright spot. Kamara's had kind of a down season compared to what he usually is, just because the Saints are so terrible. Wandale is maybe that was kind of a bad week for the Giants, other than Cam Scattaboo. But, even the league neighbors had like 1 point. So maybe better days for Charlie ahead. Really, 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 really bad week, of course.
Interestingly,
So hope for the best.
we haven't talked about the waiver wire too much so far throughout the pod this year, but Charlie blows $65 combined on Wandale Robinson and Troy Franklin, and they put up a combined 6.4 points.
I will say I like the Troy Franklin ad more so than the Wandale ad, but I think the Troy Franklin ad could actually be really, really good just from what I've seen on like the underlying numbers. The Broncos just haven't really turned it on offensively yet, but maybe that ends up being a good ad. Granted, it's a lot of fab money to spend in week 2 regardless.
I mean, Charlie's just team stacking. He has 2 Raiders players, 3 Broncos players, 2 Chiefs players.
Yeah, I mean, at least one of them is Bo Nix. So, like, if Troy Franklin or Evan Ingram end up being pretty solid, you do have kind of the quarterback receiver stack.
Yeah.
But just haven't really gotten it going there in Denver yet this year. So it's still early. And Bo Nix had a great rookie year, but we'll see.
Moving on to our third matchup of the week, the Golden Boys versus Baked with a Chub. Bennett takes a tough loss, 123.6 to 139. Alex gets the win and moves up to 2-1, and Alex kind of pulled away in this game late. I don't know if you were watching the projections throughout the day, Kevin, but Bennett had like a 75% chance to win going into, I believe, the 4 p.m. games. He was kind of walking away with it. Had a 30-point bomb from Josh Allen, and then had some really good scores around the team as well. Bijan with 16, Bucky with 14, Garrett Wilson with 24.5. Really good game in that loss to the Bucks. George Pickens with 18, starting to show up a little bit for the Cowboys, even though their offense looks terrible. Dak Prescott is awful. Sam Laporta puts up 7 points. Oh, maybe part of the George Pickens rise was due to CD going down.
CeeDee Lamb went down
ankle, early in the game. I saw it happen. Looked gruesome. Why I wish you all the best, but it looked pretty bad. He went out.
Have they announced how long he's out? He played like one
yeah.
snap in the second and then left.
He played
I don't know.
They've announced it's
You can keep going. I'll do some. I can look into it on Twitter while you're going.
I believe he's gonna miss
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
High ankle sprain. 4 to 6 weeks.
But it's gotten worse because originally the day after it happened, they said, "Oh, there's a good chance he'll be ready to play next week." And then the day after that, they were like, he may miss 2 weeks, but it's not a major thing. And then they did a X-ray or something on it, MRI or something, and they said, it's an ankle sprain. He'll miss 3 to 4 weeks, and now it's 4 to 6. So
4 to 6 is what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, seems like a pretty big issue for Wyatt. George Pickens stocks go up in the short term for that. Sam Laporta puts up 7.3 in that, bomb shootout fest against the Ravens. You would hope in a 38-30 match you put up more than 7 fantasy points as one of the team's leading pass catchers, but you don't. Matthew Golden with 10 and Keon Coleman with 5. Keon Coleman has kind of come back to earth in the past 2 weeks. The Josh Allen-Keon Coleman stack might be dead. He looked like a god for that first week, and the stack looked like Bennett might have found something really good, but not for him this week. He does have Quinshon Judkins on the bench that he can easily swap in, and if, something happens, maybe Romeo Dubs comes in and plays somewhere. But looking at Alex's side, really solid performances in a couple of areas. Jahmyr Gibbs with that 27 points, JSN with 20, Cortland Sutton with 24 in that loss to the Jets, and then pretty solid performances from the rest of your guys. Baker Mayfield right around projected at 19. TJ Hawkinson with 16. Great score from a tight end this week. Khalil Shakir with 15. He got in the end zone. Ladd only put up 8. And then Chuba only with 9.6 in that crazy win against the Falcons. You would hope, again, in a blowout like that, you're putting up more points, especially, when you're up so much, you're going to be running the ball a lot. But who knows what happened there.
It was turnovers. The Falcons had more total yards and still lost by 30.
Wow. Okay. Well, they didn't just lose by 30. They didn't score points.
Yeah, no. Well, missed 2 kicks and then turn it over. Yeah, it's
two
disaster. They had more total yards and lost by 30.
Cut your franchise kicker and then miss 2 kicks.
Yeah, it's true.
Either way, Alex also has Caleb Williams sitting on the bench. So if Caleb Williams starts to turn into something, Alex could have a really solid roster here. I think he already does,
And
obviously, being 2-1. But
Caleb might be like QB2 on the year right now so far. He's off to an absolutely insane start. But next matchup here is Sequantum Mechanics versus Pernicious D. Noah versus Henry. Noah pulls this one 122 to 120, moves up to 2-1, and Henry falls to 1-2. Huge game from Jalen Hurts, kind of at the top against Dak, and just kind of losing the QB battle there by 25 points. Really is pretty much the difference maker here entirely, because I think the rest of Henry's team is going to outperform Noah's. Other than Hunter Henry, who gets 29 points, that's kind of insane.
stream option.
That's good. Yeah, that I know Hunter Henry has these games. We've seen it in the past. It's just
hard to pick.
never been a consistency. Yeah, it's never been a consistency thing for him. But of course, it's been kind of a variety of quarterbacks throughout the years. So maybe Drake May likes him. I don't know. I feel like this kind of stuff happens with Hunter Henry. So I wouldn't really rely on that, but he gets an absolutely massive game in Henry's face. Unfortunately for Henry. And of course, the A.J. Brown resurgence with the Eagles having to come from behind. So kind of just a lot of things falling against Henry here. And Noah having a pretty solid week. And then I kind of just want to highlight the disappointment of Calvin Ridley and his flex, and then of course Tyrone Tracy, who is now down with a dislocated shoulder, expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks. So I'll have to navigate that as well. Then for Charlie, or sorry, not for Charlie, for Henry, just getting big games from Amon Ra, of course. Trey McBride seems to be like he's going to be tight end one. And then Jordan Mason, who's been put into this role now with Aaron Jones going down, scores 2 touchdowns in a blowout game against Cincinnati, but I think he's getting the workload in Minnesota. Should be a pretty solid pick going forward. But yeah, kind of a tough loss, losing by 2, nail biter. I know it came into Monday night.
Amon-Ra needed one
Yeah,
10-yard catch.
yeah, it's heartbreaking. He does his consistent thing. He's always a guy who scores 20, and then he has the occasional massive games like he did week 2, but couldn't get the job done on that fine Monday night evening. And Noah takes I can't speak, man. Henry takes the loss here, falls to 1-2.
Yeah, just 2 things to add. Interestingly, Noah had 87 points scored by 3 players, which is, outrageous. And you would imagine most weeks when you do that, you're going to walk away with it. But because of the underperformance of literally everybody else, he almost didn't walk away with it. And then the last thing, Henry loses because of a bad quarterback start. Dak is projected more than Goff, but I think that, both of those defenses, Chicago and Baltimore, are very comparable. And you just got to pick who you think is going to be the more high-powered offense in the matchup. And I think, obviously, it's hindsight's 20/20, but looking back on it, Detroit Lions versus the Ravens seems like it could be a shootout, whereas Cowboys Bears seems like a stinker matchup. But either way,
Yeah, I think losing CD hurts too.
it
Just kind
definitely
of
does. Yeah.
unforeseen.
Dak throwing 2
damage.
picks also is. That's just
that's killer.
That has nothing to do with CD, but he's just trying to play hero ball, and unfortunately, because of it, he ends up losing Henry the matchup. Great scores otherwise, literally all the way around the board. Jordan Mason looks great, and will be while Aaron Jones is out. But tough loss for Henry, falls to 1-2, and he's going to try and get back in the win column next week. Do you want to take this one as well, since it's your matchup, and then I'll take the last?
Yeah, it was kind of a bloodbath. Wyatt Wyatt had a solid week 119. I just didn't really show up with 82. Lamar did his thing on Monday night. It didn't even matter at that point. The game was already over, despite the CeeDee Lamb injury. That's kind of the highlight here for Wyatt. He'd already beat me without CeeDee and without Lamar. It's kind of just what happened. But, he got huge games from Rome Odunze and Ricky Pearsall, who seem to be both very, very solid. Ricky Pearsall, of course, is playing on the Niners, who have pretty much the entire team hurt for pass catchers, with Jawan Jennings did not play. Of course, Ayuk's been out. Kittle's been out. So they got to throw the ball somewhere. But then Kyron Williams and Kenneth Walker both scored. I think Kenneth Walker had 2 touchdowns. Kyron maybe had 1. Kyron scores pretty much every week. And then Tyler Warren, who putting up 7 there in the tight end spot. But for me, just kind of felt bad coming into this week anyways. I was down Jaden Daniels, who got scratched. And I just really didn't have any good highlighted games other than Christian McCaffrey, who might be running back one at this point, maybe two. I'm not sure. He's been great. The only real highlight for me is Cam Scatterbill on the bench, who, of course, I didn't start just because, he hadn't really done anything crazy yet. I was kind of waiting for him to have a big week. And I think with Scatterbill going down, or not with Tracy going down, it kind of just allows me to propel him up to the starting roster going forward. So
What do you do?
it seems
Do you bench Nick Chubb for Scatterboo, or do you bench Cup?
that's kind of been the decision that I've been leaning on right now. I've got Cup benched, but like I benched Cup in week 2, and that was the one week that he drops like 17, and then the other 2 weeks I've started him, he gives me like 5. So there may just be kind of a consistency thing there. I haven't really looked at the matchups for this coming week yet. I haven't really thought about it too much. I'm definitely gonna start Scatterbo though, and just kind of debate between Chubb or Cup is probably what I'll be at. I'm for sure starting Scatterbo. You can't see 24 points, the RB1 go down, and like think I'm gonna bench him. So he'll be up in the starting roster.
Yeah, he's gotta be a starter. Either way,
it'll be McCaffrey and Scatterbo going forward for me for the time being. So
tough loss.
We'll see how the White Boys do it.
You move down to 1-2, and hopefully you can get a win and get things turned around, get the ship righted. I don't think your team is totally lost, but injuries and a little bit of underperformance here and there has really led you down the wrong path early. But looking at this last matchup of our Week 3 slate, Riley Reid option smokes. Henry thing is possible, 144.2 to 85.5. Tal moves up to 2-1, and Al down to 1-2. We'll look at Al's team first. Jordan Love with only 11 points. Al held quarterback tryouts this week. He rostered 4. Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Jake Browning, Joe Burrow, all of whom, except for Jordan Love and Stafford, have been dropped. So I think he dropped Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. Interesting to see. Somebody will probably pick up Joe Burrow, probably Sam, for once.
I don't even know if he's coming back, though.
Really?
You gotta have. I mean, even if dude, he's out for a long time. You gotta have that IR spot full for like the whole season.
I mean, yeah, it's true, but we'll see. Either way,
with
James
the
Conner,
potential of not him coming back.
Yeah, James Conner, who has also now been dropped, obviously, and that is totally warranted. Puts up 6.7 points and blows out every part of his leg. Cross-tackled, guy was holding on to him up top and bringing him down, and somebody came down from underneath right in the legs. It was gruesome. I don't recommend watching it. It made me shiver inside a little bit. Sucks, James Conner, since being drafted in terms of all-purpose yards, he has the highest per-game average out of any running back in the league. Hard worker, doesn't do a ton in the receiving game, but really just north-to-south runner, and he's been one of the best for a long time, so sucks to see him go down like this. Al, thankfully, has a flurry of running backs to roll with, and he's not worried about it too much. Javonte Williams puts up 12.2, Derrick Henry 10.7, and Monty with the 30-point game puts up, nearly half of Al's points. If Monty doesn't do that, and he had started, I don't know, maybe you're obviously going to start Monty, so I'm not even going to go into the hypothetical game. But it could have been bad had Al not had a 30-point game from Monty. And he likely would be the beer chugger. Malik Neighbors with only 3 points, Travis Hunter with 3 points. Al has no receivers, and that's the issue that he's running into right now. Very similar to you. Took a big swing on Travis Hunter before we had a league discussion about if defensive points were going to add to it. But even if they were, I haven't seen Travis Hunter do a ton so far. Yeah, I don't think he would really be a startable player. He's not a startable player now. Al is kind of forced to start him because you're not going to start Chris Olave as wide receiver 2. But I don't know. It's a tough spot for Al. And Tal's team, it looks really good. We said this last year, too, when Tal pretty much fully auto-drafted, but his team looks great. Jonathan Taylor puts up 32. Patrick Mahomes looks pretty good, underperforms in that game. DeAndre Swift with 10. DeAndre Swift at this point in his career is going to get you max 15 points in a week. I don't think he's that guy anymore. He's clearly lost a bit of speed since his days on the Lions and Philadelphia. Injuries have kind of, I think, banged up his potential. Jamar Chase in that blowout versus the Vikings in the negative way for the Bengals only puts up 8.9. Jake Browning looks like dog shit. The Bengals should actually trade for Jameis Winston from the Giants. and I see that as a realistic possibility in the next coming week.
That'll be fun. That'd be very good for Jamar.
Yes, and T. Higgins.
Yeah, for sure.
Michael Pittman, who I said we'd talk about, and we will in a second, puts up 19 points, gets in the end zone there in that blowout against Tennessee. Mark Andrews finally comes alive with 27 points, 2 touchdowns in that loss to the Detroit Lions. Jalen Waddle has been really good this year, honestly. Like, the Jalen Waddle experience is usually boom, bust, like 18 points, 2 points. 17 points, 5 points, 28 points, 2 points. And he's just been consistent this year, even though Miami has not been. And then J.K. Dobbins with 15 in that flex 2 spot. And then he's got some decent depth. I mean, Darnell Mooney is okay. Atlanta pass game doesn't look great, but Dalton Kincaid, great backup tight end. Ramondre Stevenson should be a suitable backup running back. And then he's got Pacheco in there as well. Kind of in a running back surplus for Tal at the moment, but maybe he can look to make a couple of moves, consolidate a guy like DeAndre Swift with Pacheco or Ramondre, and maybe upgrade to a team that needs a little bit of running back help. But either way, Tal's team looks good. And, we made that trade. I consolidated Michael Pittman and Isaiah Pacheco to Tal, and he got rid of Tyreek Hill. He was starting 2 Miami receivers for the first 2 weeks. I reached out to him, said would he be interested in giving up Waddle or Tyreek. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I don't want to be starting 2 Dolphins receivers. I was hoping somebody would come trade for one of them. And we talked a little shop and eventually worked out that deal. And I think it worked out well for both sides now. And I think it's a decent trade overall.
Yeah. Tal looks like he's taking his spot atop the standings yet again. So
yeah, I think he's in second.
See if he maintains it this year.
Moving on to our Week 4 matchups. Let's go ahead and look at me versus Henry up top. We got the roommate rivalry. It is currently projected to be 125.8 to 118.7. At the moment, rosters look to be about accurate. Jared Goff will probably slot in over Dak, so it'll be like 125.8 to 122-ish. So it's going to be a lot closer than it is right now. I don't think Henry's going to go with Dak again. I would expect him to go. Oh, Goff's playing Cleveland though. I don't know. That's a tough decision. I mean, I don't know.
It's a pretty rough spot.
Yeah, I really don't.
Green Bay's defense is also really good. It's possible he streams off the waivers
too.
He may
stream off the waivers. I don't know who's out there that you'd want though.
I haven't really looked about quarterbacks.
Yeah, who knows? Either way, looking at some of the matchups here, I think Henry's got some really tough defensive matchups across the board. Dak versus Green Bay, Josh Jacobs versus Dallas, Tony Pollard versus Houston. We just kind of saw them shut down ETN, aside from that touchdown he got. Amon-Ra versus Cleveland, DK Metcalf versus Minnesota, Trey McBride versus Seattle, DJ Moore versus Vegas, and Jordan Mason versus Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't really see a matchup here that I'm in love with. I don't even really see one that I like.
Just Dallas. Dallas is the only one.
Yeah,
I think.
Josh Jacobs versus Dallas. But to this point, I think Josh Jacobs has been kind of middling. You can see he's averaging 13.6, and he's running back 19. But hopefully he can get it going this game. However, who knows? If it's another blowout and the Packers blow out the Cowboys, it could be a big run game for Josh Jacobs. But I see a lot of tough defensive matchups. On my side, I also see a couple of tough matchups, but I see some favorable ones. Justin Herbert versus the Giants. I mean, they've got a pretty tough defense, but I think that Herbert in the passing attack has just looked really strong so far through 3 weeks, and I don't think that they're really going to struggle to get it going this week. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. A-Chane versus the Jets. We saw the Steelers get into a shootout with them early, and then we saw the Bucks and the Jets kind of get into another shootout. 29-27 is pretty high scoring last week. Trey Benson versus Seattle. That one's going to be a little tough. I think Seattle has a pretty solid defense, but I'm interested to see what Trey Benson can do. Their only other running back is Amari DiMercado, so I think Trey Benson's going to be the bell cow. He's going to get all 4 downs. Puka Nacua versus Indianapolis. This one I'm very excited about. I don't think Indianapolis has a really great defense. They have a really good defensive line and a good linebacking core, but their secondary has been suspect. Teams have kind of picked it apart, and I think Indianapolis has been forced to blow teams out and kind of boat race teams in order to secure some wins these first few weeks. Tyreek Hill against the Jets. Little bit concerned there, but we saw guys like Egbuka and Mike Evans perform pretty solid last week. Kelsey against Baltimore, that one could be tough, but we did just see them get into a shootout versus the Lions. And then T. Higgins versus Denver, that is one that I am not excited for. T. Higgins looks awful, especially with Jake Browning under center. Looks like he's probably going to be the quarterback again this week. I don't think they would have time to trade for somebody and then get him up to speed on the offense and get him out there. I'm not looking forward to this one, but I don't really have any other option. Maybe ETN, but that's kind of the tough decision I'm in here. But Devontae Smith is absolutely starting against the Bucs, who have a pretty good defense, but Smitty got it going last week. I think that he is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Full glaze. I love the guy. He's going to be in the starting lineup no matter what. It's going to be a good matchup. I'm excited for this roommate rivalry, and good luck to Henry, but not too much good luck.
I mean, Smitty's always been talented. The issue's always just been the offensive attack for the Eagles has been to run first.
It's a rushing
Jalen
offense.
Hurts is a rugby player.
It's a rushing offense,
Yeah.
and Smitty isn't the number one target. I think.
Yes, that's kind of always been the issue for his fantasy.
I think if you
impact.
put Smitty on the Patriots right now, he's a 1,300 yard a year receiver.
Yeah, if you go to a
He's the
high
only target.
volume offense,
Yeah.
in a high volume pass offense, he would do much better. He was a Heisman winner. Like obviously the talent's there.
Greatest wide receiver season in college of all time.
Next matchup though is Bennett here versus Eli. Bennett's sitting at a 1-2. Henry's still or not Henry. God man, I keep messing up. Eli is undefeated on the season. Very close projection, 124 to 123. We've got Josh Allen versus New Orleans. This could go one of two ways. I mean, that game is going to be an absolute bludgeoning. But the problem though is that
is going to be so gross.
I'm not going to watch a minute of that game. But the issue for Bennett here is that Eli has James Cook.
They also might pull Josh Allen.
That's true. I mean, if it gets bad, but it's like, how do they get the points to start the game is kind of going to be the question. So
big brain play. Do you start Drake May over Josh Allen?
I mean, I probably wouldn't, just because
he's quarterback 9.
I mean, it's Josh Allen though, and it's like you got to get the points. Like they're gonna go out there, and Josh Allen might get 3 touchdowns and then get pulled. It's like they got to score somewhere.
If they are up 28-3 in the start of the second quarter, you think they pull Josh Allen?
No, they wouldn't pull him till at least half. I'd say.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe you pull at half if they're up by like 4 touchdowns at half. You pull. But Bijan against Washington, I mean, he's been awesome this year. He's the only highlight in Atlanta, and the defense, but whatever. Bucky Irving against Philly's kind of a tough matchup. I mean, their rush defense is solid with all those Georgia boys, but he's been getting it done through the air as well. Garrett Wilson versus Miami, that defense has been absolutely awful, so that's a good spot. George Pickens now with no CeeDee Lamb should be really good going forward, so that's exciting. Sam Laporta has been pretty middling this season. I wouldn't expect a great game from Cleveland. Or against Cleveland, but he's also got Jake Ferguson, who's actually tied in 1 on the season after a huge week. It's against Green Bay, but we'll see. Maybe see which way he decides to go with the tight ends. At least he's got some options. Matthew Golden, who, he's a rookie. We'll kind of just see how that goes. I hate Green Bay Packer receivers. There's no predictability there. And then Keon Coleman against New Orleans. We kind of just mentioned
Quinshon Judkins over Keon Coleman here every day.
Or over Matthew Golden. Really
I'd
hasn't
keep Matthew Golden. He's looked way better, and he has no competition. He's the wide receiver 1.
He has no competition, but he also has so much competition. Jordan Love does not hyper target any receivers ever.
I know.
Kind of like the problem. He loves throwing it around. That's why you never get you get big games from Green Bay receivers, but it's never the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of you never know what's gonna happen. But for Eli, Daniel Jones against the Rams, we kind of talked about that matchup. That should be a fun matchup. Jake Browning against Denver. Doesn't seem like he's on a good. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's on a good trajectory for a good season. James Cook against New Orleans should be an absolute mess. I would say there's no chance he finishes below 20 points.
No.
0% chance he finishes below 20 points, which is why the projections are always confusing to me. Only projected 4 more than Chase Brown is an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, we'll see how his season continues to develop. It's been pretty disappointing for where we drafted him. Keenan Allen's been awesome for where we drafted him. Tucker Kraft,
also been
we'll see what
great
happens
for where you drafted him.
Yeah, he has been great. And then Devontae Adams and Zay Flowers to round him out. Two guys that have been pretty solid thus far.
I mean,
Honestly, Eli's team is very solid. There's a reason he's 3-0. So maybe Bennett can kind of put a stop to the run. Eli's on a very different season trajectory than he was last season, so that's got to feel pretty good.
he's on the
And
opposite.
that's the beauty of redraft.
Literally the opposite
Yeah, I
trajectory.
know. I mean, he was 0-13 last year, so
Yeah, I mean, and
maybe this year he goes the opposite way.
to think about how slow some teams have been to get off, not our fantasy teams, but real life NFL teams, and it's led to a lot of underperformances from guys who on paper should be top 10 at their position. And Eli's roster doesn't have a player in the starting lineup outside the top 30, which is,
Yeah,
I mean, that's really solid at this point in the year. Like,
that's a good start.
He's got
for sure.
4 guys in the top 6 at their position. I mean, really good looking start for you. Moving on to the next matchup of the week, we have Baby Want Milky versus Say Quantum Mechanics. Noah gets a sneaky win last week versus Henry and is somehow projected less than Charlie. I'm confused. Charlie's projected 115, Noah's projected 109, and Noah has nobody on the bench to slot in over. This team is so top heavy, it's insane. Like, outside the top 3 players, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, AJ Brown, there's like nothing here. I mean, that is really going to be what determines this matchup. It's going to be 2 games for Noah. It's going to be the Eagles versus Tampa Bay, and it's going to be the Patriots versus Carolina.
I think Jacoby has been fine. I wouldn't say he's been great, but he's been fine.
But against Chicago, I think that he is probably going to
Chicago's defense sucks.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I think he's going to put up right around projected. Last week they held who to 14 points? The Cowboys.
Yeah.
They got 2 picks on Dak.
George Pickens had like 18.
That's true.
And CD got hurt.
That's true. So, I mean, okay. Jacoby Myers also could put up a good score here, but I think by far and away, the Bucks and the Patriots, I mean, the Eagles and the Patriots games are going to be the most important to watch here. Travion Henderson has not looked good so far. He has been the running back 2. We'll see if that changes with the Ramondre fumbles, and Noah wants it to. He needs it to. And we'll see if the Eagles can keep it going. Jalen Hurts turned it on. A.J. Brown turned it on last week. Saquon has the first 2 weeks, but kind of middling last week. Hunter Henry, great game last week. Decent games the first 2 weeks, but Noah's rocking with him again here. We've got Calvin Ridley versus Houston. Calvin Ridley has looked dog shit, and the Titans have looked dog shit. I don't expect that to change. And then Calvin Austin against Minnesota. Their defense looks stout. I mean, they just held the Bengals to 7 points, 10 points. I don't know what it was.
They had like 2 defensive touchdowns.
14, I think. Yeah, but either way, Calvin Austin, being the wide receiver 2 on his team, maybe 3 depending on where you slot him in. I don't expect a big thing here. Noah really has some tough start-sit decisions with guys like Josh Downs and maybe Cedric Tillman on the bench. Charlie's side, though, I mean, he's got some pretty favorable matchups. Bo Nix versus Cincinnati, they look awful. I expect him to put up points there. And then you also have Troy Franklin against Cincinnati. If Bo Nix and Troy Franklin can kind of build that connection, maybe they get something going, and Charlie puts up some good points on that stack. Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers against Chicago. They don't really have a great defense, but Ashton Jeanty has looked pretty weak so far this year, so that'll be interesting to see. And then his receivers, Terry McLaurin, who's currently questionable. I don't know the status of his injury, and Jerry Jeudy have both been really bad this year. I mean, they're outside the top 50 at their position. Troy Franklin and Wandale are well above them so far. We'll see if that continues. Terry McLaurin against the Falcons, especially if Jaden Daniels plays, I expect him to put up a good score, and if he can play. And then Jalen Warren and Alvin Kamara, both against tough matchups. I mean, I don't expect the Saints to really get up to much against the Buffalo Bills. Kamara probably underperforms again. And Jalen Warren against a tough Minnesota defense. We'll see what he can do there. I doubt that projection, but...
Yeah, no, I've got nothing to add. It should be interesting. I think it's funny that he's projected
more than
higher. Yeah.
Charlie
but next matchup here. Yeah, we'll see if the projections are true, which they never are. But Baked with a Chubb versus Jackson to Light Blue. It's a fascinating name. Alex versus Wyatt here, 121 to 116 in Wyatt in Alex's favor. He's
Both
gonna
2-1.
looks like he's gonna run out. Yeah, both 2-1. Looks like he's gonna run out Caleb Williams this week, which I think is wise. Going against Vegas, and he's been off to a great start. So should be interesting. Jahmyr Gibbs has been great all season. Just keep putting him out there. Chuba, kind of a down week this past week, but still, what is that? 11? Is that at rank 11? Yeah, for Chuba. Yeah. So solid running back duo for him. He's gonna run out Quentin Johnson and Ladd McConkey. Get both pass options for the Chargers here. We'll see if Juwan Jennings plays. Does that make him want to replace one of them? Who does he replace? It seems like Ladd has kind of taken the back seat to Quentin Johnson, at least at this point. And then, of course, Keenan is also there. But Ladd's been off to kind of a rough start. And then, of course, JSN, who's been kind of the big story. They just want to run him on deep routes, and it's working for Seattle, and he's been having a phenomenal season up to this point. TJ Hawkinson, who had a first 2 terrible weeks, but he just had a great week last week, so ride his hot hand and throw him out there another week. And then Cortland Sutton, who's coming off a good week against Cincinnati, whose defense is, of course, terrible. So pretty decent matchups there for Alex. Just doubling up on the Chargers receivers. We'll see what happens with that. But for Wyatt, we got Lamar gonna do his thing. QB1, plug him in there. Good luck. See what happens. Kyron against the Colts. He always gets his touchdown, always gets his volume. He should be pretty solid. Kenneth Walker, most unpredictable guy in fantasy, who runs for like 14 carries, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just like really strange. He's projected 12.7 against Arizona. That game, I think that game might suck. I don't know. Something is kind of in the air for me about that game. I feel like it's one of those 325 or 425 games that's just really, really boring. Something tells me that game's going to fly under. I don't know why.
13-6 final score.
Dude, it just has one of those West Coast feels this week for that game. Christian Kirk is an interesting start. I really don't know what he's been doing this season at all.
Nothing. He is wide receiver 118.
I'm really did he just why is he starting him? Why is
CD Lamb?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Why is he projected 11 points? I'm like, you just sign him or something? I'm so confused.
No, I mean, he's been on the team.
Why is he projected 11?
He made his Texans debut in week 3.
Okay, there you go. That makes more sense.
So he put up 5 points.
Yeah, but I guess another week.
8 targets.
Yeah, another week of practice. We'll kind of see. He'll definitely be behind Nico Collins, but I guess they don't really have any other pass catchers there. Maybe that'll jumpstart. Yeah, maybe that'll jumpstart the Houston offense because I kind of feel like their rush game hasn't been very strong and they've just been bad. They're 0-3. Tyler Warren seems like he'll be a pretty good rookie tight end. Tight end 9 on the season. Keep plugging him in there against the Rams. That should be a fun matchup. So hopefully good things there. And then Roma, dude.
Wide receiver 3.
Yeah, dude, he's been going nuclear every single week. It's kind of crazy. So obviously keep going with him. That seems to be a breakout sophomore year. I mean, it's kind of like Caleb's been having so good. That connection there has been really solid. And then Ricky Pearsall had a great week last week, but he might take a hit if Juwan Jennings plays. That offense was literally Christian McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall. Christian McCaffrey had 12 targets, I think.
Good Lord.
And Ricky Pearsall had like 10. Dude, they don't do anything but give him the football. He's touched the football 30 times in all 3 games. He's going to get gonna get hurt.
Yeah, he is. Of course he is. They're running him into the ground.
I know. I drafted him this year because I love you can't not love Christian McCaffrey's volume. And I'm like, dude, it's too much. Like, give the guy a breather.
Future Daughter Dater of the Year award winner. No.
Yeah.
Perennial Daughter Dater of the Year award winner.
He works hard.
Harder than
but yeah, it should be a fun matchup. See what happens here. But next matchup is actually mine. Me versus look at this one. Both 1 and 2, sitting at 9 and 10 in the standings. Rough starts for both of us. I actually did set my lineup. Okay, so I guess this is what I'm looking at right now as of now. I have benched Jameson Williams. We'll see what I mess with. I'm not sure.
Currently, Nick Chubb is in. Oh, against Tennessee,
Yeah.
that's a really good matchup. I think you honestly probably leave
Yeah,
it.
so I might have looked at this earlier.
J-Mo against
Let's see.
Cleveland, yeah, I think you leave it.
Yeah. So, projected 7 points over. We'll see if Jaden Daniels plays. That's, of course, going to be very, very relevant. Christian McCaffrey will do his thing. We already kind of talked about Scattaboo and McCaffrey. Brian Thomas has been so bad this season. But, maybe eventually he has kind of a breakout game. I'm still waiting on it. He was so good last year. Cooper Kupp is just been so mid this year, but he had one really good game, so we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep throwing him out there and waiting, and then eventually deciding if I need to drop him. And then Juwan Johnson is weirdly tight end too. I'm just gonna put it in there because I don't know what they're doing in New Orleans. I don't watch those football games. I'm just gonna put him out there. They'll be playing Buffalo. They'll be getting slaughtered. So I hope they just pass a lot.
They're going to be checking down.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. Then I guess Spencer Rattler likes him a lot. But then Tet McMillan against New Orleans. Tet's been pretty solid. He gets a big target share, but just hasn't really had a big game yet just because the Panthers are kind of ass. And then Nick Chubb against Tennessee has been pretty middling. So it's just a lot of mid players on my roster. Kind of waiting for things to happen. Just get the wins for now and, hope to sort of form a better roster as the season goes on. But for Al, he's got Jordan Love against Dallas. That defense is terrible, so he probably has a pretty good week. Derrick Henry's been pretty unpredictable, it seems, with some really big weeks and some pretty big duds against Kansas City's defense. We'll see what happens in that game. Javonte Williams had a great season so far. Running back 7, wow. Against Green Bay, whose defense is solid, but they're going to need him. They're going to be behind, so that could hurt sort of the game script a little bit. If that offense looks bad without CD, we'll see how that affects things as well. Malik Neighbors coming off a bad game. Jackson Dart's the new quarterback in New York, so we'll see how that connection looks. There's no predictability with how that's going to work this week.
Sitting on the couch with Henry and Noah, watching that game on Sunday night, I said, we were in the first quarter, and I said, I don't know how you can keep walking Russell Wilson out here and expecting to win games. You drafted a quarterback in the first round. I understand you don't want him to get hurt. You don't want to throw him out there on an awful roster, but you gotta see what he has. And I was I think if they lose this game and Russell Wilson looks unconvincing, I think Jackson Dart starts next week, and that's exactly what happened.
So the Giants will look a lot different. They'll have the 2 rookies, Cam Scattaboo and Jackson Dart, and then the second year Malik Neighbors out there. Maybe they'll be fun. Who knows? I hope they are. I hope Jackson Dart gives a little bit of a spark to that offense. Make them more of an exciting team. And then Chris Olave, who's been, 24, I guess, is wide receiver 24, very mid. He's kind of always been very mid. Just a bad Saints team against Buffalo, so we'll see how him and Juwan Johnson do in that matchup. David Njoku, who's off to a terrible start because of Harold Fannin, kind of plugging into his tight end. They basically are 2 relevant. They're like 2 irrelevant tight ends that if they were combined would make one great tight end. But since they both take passes from each other, they both suck. Then David Montgomery versus Cleveland coming off a massive week. That game should probably be a beatdown though. Yeah, good defense, but I mean Detroit's offense usually gets it going, so it should be fine. And then Travis Hunter, who's been absolutely awful up to this point. At least we both have Jacksonville receivers going in. So
I was gonna say honestly, at this point, I'd slot in Jonnu Smith over Travis Hunter.
Yeah, he's averaging more points a week. So, but yeah, we'll see. Me and Al both need the win. It's been kind of desperate times for both of us. He's already got 1 beer chug, right? Or did I make that up? No, I made that up. No, he was close this week.
Yeah, he was close. He was
close this week. I was
David Montgomery saved him.
Yeah, that's right. But it's been a pretty rough go of it for me and Al to start. So one of us needs to kind of get in the right direction here this week. So
definitely has been.
We'll see. May the best man win.
Fortunately, one of you will win and get back up to 2-2 even, and one of you will be in a dangerous 1-3 position.
It's a must-win here.
It's a must-win, even though it's only week 4. This type of matchup here, this sets the tone. It's
a get-right game.
You watched this happen to me last year. I lost in this matchup, not this exact matchup, but in this exact similar matchup, and went to 1-3, and then it was all right, it's go time. And I had to make moves. I made a bunch of trades, turned the roster around, and we ended up making the playoffs. But it is still possible if you lose this game and you end up 1-3, obviously. It just makes the path to get there so much harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last matchup of this upcoming Week 4 slate, we have Riley Reid option taking on Swifties for Smirnoff. Tal currently sitting at 3rd in the standings and Sam in 11th. Tal is currently the over projection at 120.6 to 115.5. And currently Sam is slotting in Jordan Addison. It'll be his first game of the season against Pittsburgh. The Jets got into a shootout with them, so it is possible. And if the Minnesota offense gets even more going, who knows? I believe Carson Wentz will be starting again this week. He looked all right. Jet has only put up like 9 points, even though they put up 44 points as a team. So kind of sucks to see that. But the defense was rolling.
Kind of just unfortunate. Yeah, it was kind of just because of the picks and stuff.
It's only 14 points off defense and special. You still scored 30 points as an offense, and your wide receiver
I think it's
9 points.
Kind of game script though, and Jordan Mason was able to just run the ball out.
Once you were up by 3 touchdowns, you're just going to run the ball and try and run the clock. But either way, Sam has a really tough-looking roster here. I don't see Egmeke Egbuka is the only player in the top 10. Your quarterback's 28. You have to get a new quarterback, Sam. I'm almost at the point where I want to force add somebody else to your roster because this is so bad.
Surely he gets someone on waivers tonight. He has to.
Let's see. Probably Justin Fields. He's coming back this week. I think he's the best option. Either way, Omarion Hampton looks good against the Giants. They've got a really good run defense, but he looked great last week and got a ton of the receiving volume. Breece Hall against Miami. It's a good matchup. It's bad defense, so hopefully Breece Hall can finally get it going for the first time this year. Nico Collins against Tennessee. That's the matchup you want to see. Really the first get-right game for Houston. They need the offense to get going. Christian Kirk's first game. Nico Collins should put up tons of points here. And then you got Drake London and Kyle Pitts against Washington. They've got a really good defense. However, they have been in kind of shootouts so far this season. So if the Falcons can finally turn it around, maybe these guys put up some good points. Emeka Egbuka against Philadelphia is a tough matchup, but he's wide receiver 10. You can't not start him. He looks so good, and especially with Mike Evans slated to miss time. Even though Chris Godwin may be coming back this week, I think you just rock with Emeka Egbuka no matter what. And then Jordan Addison, first game of the season. We talked about it against Pittsburgh. We'll see what he can do. And then looking over at Tal's side, we have Patrick Mahomes against Baltimore. That game is probably going to go into shootout mode if the Chiefs can get it going. But so far this year, their offense really hasn't looked good. It's looked bad. They have skated out with one win against the Giants, even though the Giants looked dog shit. But the Chiefs looked awful week 1 and 2, even though Patrick Mahomes is putting up good fantasy points. So he'll probably continue to do that. Jonathan Taylor at running back 1, averaging 25 points against the Rams. They have a pretty susceptible run defense from what I remember watching so far this season, so I expect him to keep it rolling. DeAndre Swift against Vegas. It's a good matchup for him to finally have his first game over 11 points. Jamar Chase against Denver. This is going to be a telltale matchup for Tal and a telltale matchup for this actual matchup. Tal is projected, 5 points higher, but if you look at the averages, and obviously Jordan Addison doesn't have an average, so let's add 10 points there, just for fuck's sake. Sam is averaging 93 points as a team, and Tal is averaging 129. So, you got a 39-point difference in averages for the team, and you've only got a 5.1 point difference in projections. So I think this is kind of a sneaky bloodbath. I think if things go Tal's way, and he's got some pretty good matchups here, I think this one could get ugly as well, similar to his matchup against Al last week, and Tal could be off to a 3-1 start and, jumping up again in the standings.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this week. A lot of crazy things, I'm sure. The injury bug kind of started week 3, so I hope everyone's teams stay pretty healthy and, just go week by week and hope for the best every week. But waivers run tonight. I'm sure there will be some ads going around. Only one team is undefeated. Only one team is winless. It's still very, very early, of course. So a lot of football to be played.
Very competitive league we've built here. We've got 5 guys at 2-1, 5 guys at 1-2, 1 guy at 3-0, and 1 guy at 0-3. It might be the most competitive breakdown I have in any of the leagues that I'm in right now. I think that there's a couple of leagues I'm in where it's more top heavy. A couple of guys 3-0, a couple of guys 2-1, and then a couple of guys 0-3. But we've got a great league here, and Charlie's going to look to get his first win this week against Noah. Noah's going to look to stave him off. I'm going to look to win the roommate rivalry, and Eli's going to look to keep it rolling, get to 4-0, and you're going to look to take down Al's Black Magic and get back to even. And Sam is going to look to avoid a beer chug.
Absolutely. I think we're all looking to avoid that. I'm hoping for my sake I am. I've pretty much narrowly avoided it twice, so.
Yeah. I've still never done one, so I know that, just based on odds, it's coming at some point, but I'm hoping we can hold it off. So that'll be it for us.
Well, Gabe, as always.
Yeah, as always, it was great to do the pod with you, Kevin. I wish all of you luck this week in your matchups, except for Henry, and I'm sure you do the same, but with Al. I hope you have a good week, sir, and I hope you make the right start-sit decisions, and if you're going after anyone on waivers, I hope you get them.
You as well. We'll see you in the morning.
All right. Good luck, fellas.